unanimous consent, Mr. President, that the quorum call be vacated.
Without objection.
Mr. President, I would now ask unanimous consent that I be allowed to bring 2 baskets of hemp products onto the floor of the Senate.
Without objection.
Mr. President, it was not very long ago when I was on the floor of this Senate with the distinguished Majority Leader, Senator McConnell, and the 2 of us were making the case for our bipartisan bill to legalize hemp, which we are very much interested in having included in the Farm Bill. And I will talk a little bit more about our work on that. Our original sponsors were Senator Merkley and Senator Paul. And since then, we have added as co-sponsors 28 additional members of the United States Senate on as co-sponsors. So what I'm going to do this afternoon for just a few minutes is talk about why it is so important that our bipartisan legislation, now co-sponsored by almost 1/3 of this body, get enacted and be included as part of the Farm Bill. Now, Mr. President, it is Hemp History Week again, and that is why I'm back on the Senate floor to talk about the only Schedule I controlled substance that you can sew into a T-shirt and wear through TSA. And here, as we start, is the real head-scratcher. Products made with hemp are perfectly legal, but growing industrial hemp is a crime. There can't be many policies on the books that are more anti-farmer than that one. So I've had a bottom line, discussed this with Majority Leader McConnell here recently on the floor of the Senate, and that is, if you can buy it at a supermarket in America, our farmers ought to be allowed to grow it in America. For me, this issue goes back to a trip my wife and I took to a grocery store near our home in southeast Portland. Nancy was pregnant with our youngest daughter at the time, and you're always on the hunt for healthy foods that will fill your cart. So we grabbed up the fruits and vegetables, and there, perched on one of the shelves, was a large bag of hemp hearts. And the packaging had really big, colorful text, and it said it was heart healthy and protein rich. But I knew the product couldn't have been grown in the United States because there was a federal ban. So I looked at this product and I turned to my wife and I said, you know, hemp growers in places like Canada and China must just be laughing all the way to the bank. They're cashing in while our farmers have their hands tied by the current hemp restrictions. So here with me on the floor is one of our very capable young staffers, Malcolm from Southern Oregon. And Malcolm is holding a variety of products that are made with hemp. This Schedule I substance that our laws make out to be a perilous danger to the public. So for a few minutes, let's take a look at what Malcolm's got. He's got a few Schedule I snack bars. He's got some Schedule I hand soap. He's even wearing a Schedule I necktie. The point is, they're all perfectly legal products that you'll find on shelves and stores throughout the nation, but because the hemp had to be imported, none of it could be considered fully American-made. So I want to, as I have with the Majority Leader on past occasions, make sure that everybody understands a simple fact about hemp. Hemp is not a drug, and treating it like one was wrong from the get-go. Smoking hemp would be nothing but a waste of time, breath, and lighter fluid. It defies common sense that our laws consider hemp to be dangerous and addictive, like crystal meth. Having one too many hemp granola bars might give you a stomach ache, but you aren't going to land in the hospital. So hemp is not a drug. What it is a huge opportunity for American farmers. That's why the original sponsors of this legislation, Senator McConnell, Senator Merkley, Senator Paul, myself, introduced the Hemp Farming Act of 2018. It is the latest version of a bill that I began putting in front of this body in 2012. Our bill would end hemp's days as a controlled substance, and it would legalize its growth in America. What the bill does is it clears the way for farmers in Oregon, Kentucky, literally from sea to shining sea. It gives the green light to farmers across the land who are clamoring for the growth industrial hemp, legalized industrial hemp, would bring for their farms and their communities. Now, nearly 2 months after my colleagues and I introduced the Hemp Farming Act, as I said, a very large delegation of senators of both political parties have signed on as co-sponsors. Democratic senators, Republican senators. We can have some pretty spirited disagreements around here, but these are senators who know a brainless anti-farmer policy when you see one. And there is a companion bill in the other body that has strong bipartisan support as well. So we are going to keep at it, our bipartisan coalition, in order to build support for this throughout the days ahead. Here in the Senate, members are hard at work putting together a bipartisan farm bill. And we're very pleased to see the leadership on both the majority side and the minority side, Chairman Roberts, Senator Stabenow, working very closely together to put together a bipartisan farm bill, which would be a perfect opportunity to move this forward. I'm constantly saying at home in Oregon, very supportive of agriculture. Let's grow it in America. Let's add value to it in America, and let's ship it wherever we can in order to create jobs that start on the farm. So we've got momentum growing, and that's why Hemp History Week, this time when I come to the floor and talk about this broad array of products, is designed to really get the facts out about growing hemp. Now, Mr. President, before growing hemp was made illegal, hemp was among the predominant American crops for generations. It was grown in the fields of Mount Vernon. It was threaded into the ropes and sails of the first ships made for the United States Navy. If hemp was easier to rhyme, it might even have its own lyric in America the Beautiful. right alongside the amber waves of grain. I believe it is long past time for the Congress to throw out an anti-farmer policy and legalize, and by the way, both leaders of this body, Leader McConnell and Leader Schumer, are both co-sponsors of this bill because they understand that it just defies common sense to be anti-farmer in this way. Both leaders of this body share the view it is time to legalize the industrial growth of hemp. Products made with hemp, and this is just a modest number of them, products made with hemp constitute a billion-dollar market in this country. If there is only one thing I have said today that people will remember in all this, it ought to be if you can buy it in a grocery store in America, farmers ought to be able to grow it in America. It's just that simple. Mr. President, with that, I yield the floor and note the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.